Hey, Fright fans, welcome back. Tonight we're watching Demon Queen. I hope you guys are all enjoying it because I've got a special guest in the house, director Donald Farmer, the director of Demon Queen. How you doing, Donald?
Oh, great. Well, I can't believe you're showing Demon Queen on TV.
I asked Donald about showing Demon Queen. He's like, are you sure you really want to show this, Larry? And I was like, Dr. Gangrene. I was like, yes, of course.
Well, folks, send the kiddies to bed.
Well, yeah, there's some adult material in this one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Demon Queen. Tell me. Okay, first off, tell me what year was this shot?
Well, this was made in 1986, and it was filmed half in Fort Lauderdale and half in Miami. And it's my first feature. I'd done a bunch of short Super 8 movies before this, but Demon Queen was my first attempt at a feature. And the reason I got back into filmmaking, because at this point in '86, it had been 10 years since I'd made my last Super 8 short. I hadn't done one since '76. But suddenly, around '79 and '80, the home video boom exploded with people buying video cassette recorders and players. And pretty soon there was this whole industry of people making movies directly for home video, which was unheard of in the '70s. But then suddenly in the '80s, there's a whole new market. There's the home video market, and now you can make a movie and it doesn't have to play in theaters. It can be just made for this whole new industry of video stores that are spreading all over the country. And these were before the day of Blockbuster Video and the chain stores. In the early and mid '80s, all these video stores were mom and pop, independently owned stores.
That's the good old days. That was when mom and pop shops were I miss those things so bad.
And they needed product. They needed product bad. So suddenly you saw this explosion of filmmakers making movies, not for theaters, but shooting them on video and selling them to these distributors that were stocking the shelves of these mom and pop stores. So I wasn't the first one to get in on this new market, but I was on it really early. I was one of the early ones. And so when I came along and made Demon Queen in '86, and then it didn't come out in video stores until '87, I was riding the wave of this whole new business of something that was unheard of 10 years ago. If I'd known that this market was about to explode, I would have started making movies for home video earlier. In fact, one of the big mistakes I made with Demon Queen was I licensed it too quickly before all the offers were in. We licensed it to this company called Mogul Video, which was a British company with an office in Los Angeles, but they were run by folks from England. It was run by this guy named Des Dolan. And so I licensed to him too quickly because basically the first person that made me an offer, I thought, oh wow, somebody actually wants to buy my movie. I can't believe it. Yes, you can have it. And then after I'd already licensed to him, along comes an offer from another company offering 10 times the money that he paid. So I learned very quickly, don't always accept the first offer.
And now those VHS copies are going for hundreds of dollars.
Yeah, I know. It just makes me sick. I wish I'd kept more of them, because the last one I had, people kept offering me these, irresistible offers to sell my copies. And I think I sold my last one for $300, but now I see people on eBay selling them for $600. So
it's wild. Well, I tell you what, we better get back to it now. We've been talking for a little bit. We're going to get back to Demon Queen now, and we'll be back in a little bit. We'll chat more with Donald Farmer. All right, welcome back. We're watching Demon Queen tonight, and here with director Donald Farmer. Donald, we were chatting a little bit before in the first break about Demon Queen. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the challenges of indie filmmaking, because I got a lot of viewers out here who are filmmakers who are watching, and so tell me some of the challenges you've run into as an indie filmmaker.
Well, the number one challenge when you're an indie filmmaker is just a simple question of logistics. You've got all of these different things you've got to coordinate and make them all come together. So like even on a super cheap movie like Demon Queen, first of all, once you've cast it, everybody knows that casting doesn't end your problems. You've got to make sure that you can depend on your actors to show up. because sometimes we've had situations where we'll be all cast, and then for one reason or another, but an important actor may not show up. We had that problem on my next movie, Cannibal Hookers, where my lead actor was filmed half the movie, and then he was in a motorcycle wreck and broke his neck and couldn't finish the movie. So we had to just massively rewrite the last third of the movie to explain why he was no longer in it.
Sure.
So sometimes these actors don't show up through no fault of their own, like in Cannibal Hookers. Sometimes they just don't show up because they're flaky, and you made the mistake of casting a flaky actor. So when you're casting, you want to make sure you ideally got people that have done movies before and have got a track record of dependability where you know you can count on them. And then that's not the only problem. It's locations. You can have these locations planned that you want to shoot at, but if you haven't personally checked out each location and you just find it on Google and plan to show up there at a certain time and film,
not a good idea.
The location may not match what you saw on Google, or the location may be locked when you thought it was open, and
or the police might chase you off.
We've had that before. We've had a case where when we were making Cannibal Hookers, we made that in '87, we rented this big mansion to film in, and we were dealing with a person who represented himself as the official caretaker of the mansion, and he had the keys. So we thought, well, he has the keys, he must be the caretaker, because he unlocked the gate for us every day when we went and filmed, and he charged us $75 a day to film in this mansion. And we got all of our days at this mansion except our very last day. On our very last day, the police showed up and informed us that this man we had been paying was not the caretaker. He was just like somebody who somehow managed to get his hands on the keys.
Wow.
And so we were chased off. So our last day that we planned to shoot in this mansion, we had to end up shooting in a friend's two-car garage and put up some flats, which we painted to try to look like the walls of the mansion.
Oh, I'm sure nobody knew.
But no one has ever pointed that out to me and said, why does this scene in Cannibal Hookers have this weird wall? It doesn't look like you're in the mansion. No one has ever complained about that or noticed it. So
that's funny. I'm sure there's other things that distract their eyes.
And then the other big X factor when you're filming is something that you totally can't control. Weather. Is the weather going to be okay? Because the first 2 days of shooting my new movie, on both of our first 2 days, we had torrential rain, and we just had to shoot around it. We just had to get wet.
Right. So keep these things in mind when you're writing your scripts, and that's where you should spend a majority of time before you do anything else. Get that script down right. But keep in mind, sets, locations, weather, and actors, all important.
And also, one thing I like to do is I like to find out what every actor's capabilities are before I start shooting, because different actors work different ways, and it doesn't matter. You can have the most professional actor in the world. Like, for example, when I used Robert Zadar, the star of Maniac Cop, in one of my movies, I just assumed he was a professional because he had done tons and tons of movies. Turned out the guy does not like to memorize the script, does not like to say the lines that are in the script. He likes to just glance at the script and then say everything in his own words, which make a complete jumble of what you had written, and he just refused to memorize the script. And so I've had that happen with a few actors where they just refuse to memorize the script, refuse to say what's written. They just glance at it and then want to say it all in their own words. And in the case of Robert Zadar, we were on the clock. We only had him so long, so we just had to let him go ahead and do it. I wouldn't put up with that with a lesser actor.
He was quite a character. I interviewed Zadar once.
Because we had William Smith on the same movie, and William Smith was a stickler. He was in that motel every night studying his script, and when he came the next day, he was letter perfect. But I never dreamed in a million years, hiring a Zadar, that he would be so unprofessional and wouldn't have his script memorized. And frankly, he didn't even want to even make any attempt to memorize it.
And that was an action movie, right?
Yeah, well, it was a horror action movie.
Okay.
He was supposed to be.
What was the title of that one?
It was called Deadly Memories. Zadar was supposed to be the guy that explained things, that explained why this and that is going on, so that the audience would be up to speed. And the way he explained it was just so convoluted that I think the audience was still lost.
Well, we're going to get back now to tonight's movie here, Demon Queen. We'll chat with Donald Moore here in just a little bit, so stay tuned. For now, back to Demon Queen. All right, so that was Demon Queen, 1986. That's right.
Released in '87, made in '86.
So I really like that movie. I have an affinity for the shot on video genre anyway, but you know what my favorite of your videos is, right? Of all your movies you shot, right?
Well, I guess you're going to tell me.
Yeah, well, Scream Dream.
Oh.
Another shot on video, because I love a good heavy metal horror movie. So let's talk Scream Dream for just for a second here. Tell me about when was that one shot and where was that shot?
That was shot entirely in Cookeville, Tennessee, which is like about 70 miles east of Nashville, halfway between Nashville and Knoxville on beautiful Interstate 40. And that was my third movie right after Demon Queen and Cannibal Hookers. I had shot Demon Queen, like I said, in Fort Lauderdale, Miami. I'd shot Cannibal Hookers in Los Angeles. So I had moved back to Cookeville right after I finished Cannibal Hookers. And so this was my first movie that I directed to be shot in my hometown of Cookeville, Tennessee. And we filmed it. A friend of mine ran a photo studio, and he had put his photo studio in this abandoned factory. So he had this huge abandoned factory that was basically his entire photo studio. Most people, when they have a photo studio, which is about as big as the studio we're in, but this guy had a huge factory with all these rooms and creepy sections that was all at the disposal of his photo studio. And he co-produced Scream Dream with me. His name was Bob Allison. So we had all of his studio to film different scenes in. So we could use one room for somebody's house interior, and we could use one room for backstage at a concert. And then for all the concert scenes, I wanted to film them at a real club where I could have a real audience that would just be there anyway, so that I would have free extras.
Right.
And so there was this nightclub in Cookeville at the time, no longer there, called the Sword&Stein Supper Club, mainly famous at this time in Cookeville because it's where Cheech and Chong had been known to party after their local Cookeville concert.
Nice.
So Cheech and Chong sort of made that place legendary. And so we got permission from the Sword&Stein to bring in our phony our band, which was sort of a real band, called Ricochet, and they were playing the band. And then what we did was we got our actress Melissa Moore, who played the lead singer, and we planted her in the band. She was not actually a member of the band, but so she would lip sync to their tracks while they all played, and basically everybody was pantomiming and lip syncing, because for that we went to Nashville and we recorded at an actual professional studio in Nashville our 3 key tracks, which was the theme Scream Dream, the song Ballbuster, and one other song. And so we were told that we were using the same studio where James Brown's musicians had recorded. They said, James Brown has not recorded here, but his musicians have, and that was their claim to fame. That was apparently the biggest people that had ever recorded. So in other words, one of the cheapest studios in Nashville. And so I remember for us to book it for a couple of hours, we had 2 hours to record 3 tracks and make 3 masters at this studio, and I remember it cost like $300 for the 2 hours.
So I'll tell you what, Donald, why don't we take a look at a clip from Scream Dream real quick while we're talking about it?
Oh, are you going to show one of the performance clips where the band is playing?
Sure, let's do that.
Just keep in mind, folks, you're watching people lip sync and pantomime playing, because we could not record live sound. All the sound had to be on these pre-recorded tracks we recorded in Nashville. So even though you see the band with their guitars and everything, they're just pretending to play.
Hey, they're rocking out.
Yeah,
Scream Dream.
Everlasting night. go backstage. I met with your Peter.
Rick, we can't go back there.
Come on, let's go.
Scream Dream, man, that is so much fun. I really like that one, Donald.
Yeah. When I made that movie, I thought I had come up with an original title, and then later on, after the fact, I found out that Ted Nugent had done an album called Scream Dream.
Yes, he did.
But that's a case of, you know, great minds thinking alike. Because I'm not a fan of Ted Nugent, and I don't follow him, so I had no idea that he had already done this. So when I saw
politics aside, he makes some kick-ass music. So
when I saw that, I thought, darn, I thought I was the first one to come up with Scream Dream.
So after Scream Dream, though, you went to the police angle of things with the twist, right?
Yeah, well, we made Vampire Cop next, which was my first movie to be shot on film after doing, after Scream Dream, then I made Savage Vengeance, and then I worked as an actor and casting guy on No Justice. And then after No Justice, then I went back to directing another movie, and that was Vampire Cop. And we shot on film only because I was able to bring in an investor who put in about $9 grand, which I paired with my own money to beef up our budget enough that we could shoot on film. So I thought that would make the movie more valuable on the market. It really didn't. People back then, for these direct-to-video movies, they didn't really care if you shot them on video. So shooting on film, it turned out, did not raise the market value of the movie like I thought it would.
Yeah.
In fact, if I wanted to raise the market value of the movie, what I should have done is get a celebrity. Getting a celebrity is what raises the market value of your movie. Like a movie with a celebrity shot on video was worth more in the 80s market than a movie shot on film without a celebrity.
Gotcha. Well, tell me a real quick synopsis of Vampire Cop.
Well, Vampire Cop is about a drug lord terrorizing this Florida city, and this local investigative TV reporter, Melanie Roberts, played by Melissa Moore, the star of Scream Dream, she's determined to stay on this guy's case, but she finds out that there's some vigilante-style killings going on where underworld shady types are being killed, and it turns out that the killings are being done by the vampire cop of the title. And so the vampire cop in our movie is the good guy, and he's the guy ultimately that is going to stop this drug lord. And so Melanie becomes romantically involved with the vampire cop, and so we're rooting for him to, this isn't a movie like a Christopher Lee Dracula where you can't wait to see him get killed at the end. In our movie, we want the drug lord to get killed, and we want vampire cop to live another day. So,
yes, rooting for the vampire. I love it.
So we made sure that the vampire cop didn't die because he's our hero, and so we wanted to make a movie with a good vampire against a bad drug lord.
Yes. Well, let's take a look at that trailer now.
I don't believe this shit. You're some kind of damn monster.
Vampire cop. I love it. Not just a cop, vampire cop. Mm-hmm. So you would return to the cop genre later with your zombie.
Cannibal cop.
Cannibal cop, that's right. So he was drinking blood in the early cop movie, and now he's flesh chewing.
And in Cannibal Cop, the cop is a bad, corrupt cop, so he's no longer the hero like in Vampire Cop.
Yeah.
In this one, you want the cannibal cop to die, and you want him to die horribly.
Well, your vampire cop lived, so I think it's time for Vampire Cop 2.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, the actor who played the vampire cop has gone on to some high-profile stuff. He just very recently co-starred with Jeff Bridges in the all-new True Grit movie. So he, if you look up his resume, he's done some high-profile stuff. He was a union actor, and so for vampire cop, he's billed under a phony name because he said he would get in trouble with SAG if he used his real name. And then we had another actor that played the drug lord sidekick, whose real name is Ray McKinnon, and he's now a huge actor, and he's won an Academy Award. But when I put him in Vampire Cop, that was one of his first credits. But
wow,
he won an Academy Award not for acting, but for producing a short film. He won in the category of Best Live Action Short. But he's in huge movies, like he has a big role in Ford versus Ferrari with Matt Damon, and he's in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, where he fights George Clooney, and he's in Bugsy with Warren Beatty, and he's in Apollo 13, and he's in Summersby with Richard Gere. He's just in he's in A Perfect World with Clint Eastwood. He's just in one huge movie after another.
Wow.
So he's
it all started with Vampire Cop.
He's the most successful actor to ever work for me. He's out there, and he's hungry. Real hungry.
This might be our first cannibal cop.
He's cleaning up the streets, one bite at a time. Don't get in his way, or you're on the menu. Cannibal cop. He takes a bite out of crime.
So, but you did some big budget stuff in the 90s.
Yeah,
Compelling
in the 90s,
Evidence, right?
I did a whole string of shot on film movies that had six-figure budgets.
Wow.
Yeah, I did. First, I teamed up with this producer, Danny Finley, and we did 4 movies in a row for him. And though each movie had $250,000 or bigger budget, and so for those movies, the best one was Compelling Evidence, which starred. He let me cast it, so I. Usually when you're casting celebrities, you run into a whole new set of logistical problems, I found out, which is, to try to hire a big celebrity for your movie, the bigger the celebrity, and like if you're hiring somebody like Linnea Quigley or Brink Stevens, it's usually no problem. If you can pay their fee, they're happy to do it. But for the bigger stars, like I was going after this movie, I wanted a bigger star that had an A name in Europe. It's like weeks of negotiations with the agent. The agent won't let you talk to the star. You have to do everything through the agent. The agent is hardballing you, and trying to get the agent to sign on the line. And also the agent requires you to put the star's full salary into an escrow bank account because you're having to deal with SAG to get that Screen Actors Guild. So it was so difficult to negotiate to get our star, who we ultimately got. We ultimately got Brigitte Nielsen, who had been in Red Sonja and Cobra and Rocky IV. But in order to get her, it was so I did all the negotiations, and it was so nerve-wracking negotiating with her agent because, I never knew till the last minute till the agent would cancel everything. And so I was simultaneously negotiating with another big star, who I probably shouldn't name, but another household name, with the feeling that since I'm simultaneously negotiating with 2 huge stars, surely one of them will come through. And so that's how it worked out. The other star, they declined to sign the final contract over a perk argument. They wanted so many perks, like so many first-class airline tickets, and Brigitte Nielsen came in a little bit cheaper, not making as many demands as this other star. So I went with her because she was less demanding.
Yeah, right.
But I thought I knew the logistical difficulties until I tried to hire a bigger star. That was truly a nightmare.
But you got Melissa Moore in it again, right?
Yeah, well, I felt Melissa Moore had been really loyal to me, had done Scream Dream, Vampire Cop, and she'd also starred in my documentary Invasion of the Scream Queens. So after doing 3 cheapo movies for me, here I finally find myself with a $250,000 budget, and I thought I need to reward Melissa by giving her the starring role in a bigger budget movie to thank her for sticking with me through these cheaper movies. So that's what I did. I gave Melissa a big role, because I felt I owed it to her since she had been my key leading lady for several movies. Excellent. And so I was very happy to have the opportunity to pay her back and give her a role in a bigger movie that was going to get international distribution, because Compelling Evidence got distributed in 30 countries. It was a worldwide distribution, pretty much all of Europe and a lot of South America.
That's cool.
in Asia. So, and then we also had Dana Plato, only because this friend of mine who had introduced me to Camille Keaton, he also happened to find out where Dana Plato was living, and he put me in touch with her. And so through this friend of mine who was good at hooking me up with celebrities, we got her in it too, because she was still, everybody remembered her from Different Strokes, where she was with Gary Coleman. And then, of course, I remember her from Exorcist 2, The Heretic, where she had a good little role co-starring with Jane Fonda. I mean, co-starring with Linda Blair. And then she played Jane Fonda's daughter in the movie California Suite with Jane Fonda and Michael Caine. So she had like a sizzling resume.
Yeah.
I mean, how many actresses have been in an Exorcist movie and co-starred with Jane Fonda and had their own weekly TV show?
Not many.
And she was actually not as expensive as Brigitte Nielsen, so we got her for quite a bargain. And then to round out our package of my Dreamcast, I brought in, I'd been friends with Lynn Lowry at that point for several years because I interviewed her for my horror zine, The Splatter Times, in '82, and I was always wanting to have an opportunity to hire her. She was, a little more pricey than the typical actor I use. So I thought, if ever I have a decent budget, I'm going to hire Lynn Lowry. And so when I finally had it, I was able to do it and put her in the movie too. So that was kind of my Dreamcast.
Excellent.
My Scream Queen Super Squad.
There you go. Well, let's take a look at the Scream Queen Super Squad in action. This is the trailer for Compelling Evidence.
In the fine line that divides Hollywood fiction and Hollywood reality, action star Rick Stone is about to play his most dangerous role.
It's nothing much. Just exclusive footage of Rick Stone with his secret mistress.
My darling husband. Out again all night?
As long as she's alive, that bitch is gonna make our lives a living hell.
Michelle's already contacted a lawyer. She wants every damn dime, everything I've ever made.
At $20 million, she's gonna become the most expensive piece of ass in history.
The body of Michelle Stone, wife of film star Rick Stone, was discovered in her Beverly Hills mansion this evening. Police are now searching for Rick Stone for questioning.
If she can convince the country that I killed Michelle, she'll have the TV event of the year. Going somewhere?
Whatever you're up to, Rick, this is turning out to be the greatest publicity stunt in film history.
Rick, is there anyone out there that can verify your innocence?
You're my only alibi. You can tell everyone that I was here with you all night.
You weren't here with me. Don't forget that, Rick.
You killed me, Rick. But I've come back for you.
No!
What do you think? Could you really be innocent?
If anybody's capable of murder, he is. I admit that Rick is out of control, but isn't that what people want to see? America's biggest action hero on a complete rampage?
Brigitte Nielsen from Rocky IV and Beverly Hills Cop, Dana Plato from Different Strokes, and Danny Fendley from In the Heat of the Night. Compelling evidence. You be the judge.
Well, Donald, it's been a pleasure talking to you, man. You've got a huge career. We could talk all night about films. I know there's a ton that we didn't even, probably Savage Vengeance, probably your best known film in certain circles. We didn't even talk about that one, but
it seems to have the most hardcore fans.
It does. Well, I tell you what, we'll have you on again, and we'll talk about more films. We'll talk about that one, and we'll show another one of your movies, one of your more recent ones, something I believe you've got that has a hacksaw involved in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, hooker with a hacksaw.
Every hooker should have a hacksaw.
Yes, that's right. The one sure way to make sure she gets paid. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so we'll have you back on soon. We'll talk more about that.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Thanks so much for coming into the lab. And I will see you guys soon. Stay tuned. And remember, as always, to stay mad.